Hey, what's good, my fellow masters? So, as if the Thanksgiving banner wasn't enough, NA finds itself presented with another banner that was unexpected. Well, I mean, Thanksgiving was expected, but we just didn't know which servants would be on it. And this banner, we totally didn't expect, since it's a part of the Fate 20th Anniversary Showcase Celebration Pickup Summon. And there are quite a few servants featured that I could see causing some dilemmas out there, so here is a very brief summary of the servants and when their next raid up is, to hopefully help with planning. Due to time constraints, the format of this video will be more simplified compared to normal. To kick things off, the first banner rotation, which lasts up to the 26th, we have the OG Saber, Artoria Pendragon. She's a permanent SSR AoE Buster Saber and a good farming unit with an ability to change all her cards to Buster for a turn for some gorilla-esque Unga Bunga goodness when faced with a boss battle. However, as she's permanent, there is no need to feel pressured to roll for her now if you'd like to add her to your Chaldea, especially with a very compelling alternative like the Arts AoE Saber Muramasa just around the corner. She will have banners in February 2025 and 2026, March 2025, and September 2025. The permanent SR AoE Archer Emiya will be on raid up with Artoria. After all, someone's gotta cook for her to satiate her enormous appetite. After multiple skill rank ups, Emiya has the ability to switch from a Buster NP to an Arts type for a turn, giving him some unconventional looping potential. He will be on future banners expected in March 2025 and October 2026. The limited SSR AoE Buster Archer Ishtar joins Artoria on the first rotation, and despite Ishtar's useless goddess meme, I think she can be quite useful for both farming and boss battles alike with her party-wide attack buff, 50% NP battery, a more than decent chance-based ignore invincibility and invincibility for herself, and a huge self-attack increase on a turn delay. Overall, she can be one of the stronger AoE archers in the game when her delayed attack buff can be leveraged properly. But there are a couple of new SSR AoE archers coming up next year that you may want to save up for instead, the Arts AoE Durga and the versatile Ptolemaeus. Fortunately, Ishtar will have banners in February 2026, October 2026, and shortly after that in November 2026 if you want to prioritize someone else in the meantime. Tagging along with Ishtar is her fellow goddess and pseudo-sister, the permanent SR AoE Quick Lancer, the Sakura Face Parvati. She is still one of the best performing AoE Quick Lancers in the game and would be an asset to anyone's roster. Parvati only has one scheduled banner in the near future that is, December this year during the Christmas 2022 rerun event. To round out the heroine representation from Fate's Stay Night is the limited SSR single target Buster caster, Illya von Einsburn. She's a very potent ST unit and currently at the top in overall NP damage output among ST casters. Illya has a 50% battery to help fire off that MP faster, along with a one-turn Buster steroid, an invincibility, and some chance-based support with a targetable guts, debuff immunity, and HP heal. Though her MP does have some self-debuff demerits, so Illya may need that skill mostly for herself. She's definitely a strong ST caster, but you can always try for someone like Sanzang every February, or wait for the much-anticipated Draco. If the timing is just really bad, there will be other opportunities to obtain Illya in May 2025, September 2025, and April 2026. The raid up SR to go along with Caster Illya is her limited Summer AoE Quick Archer version. Though in terms of NP performance, Summer Illya is not especially noteworthy. Her NP does ignore evasion, and she has also a specific support utility for child servants with the ability to boost their attack for a few turns. If you're a Summer Illya fan and want to wait for her next raid ups, there's one expected in September 2025 and August 2026. From November 26th to the 28th, we have the next banner rotation featuring the limited SSR AoE Buster Assassin, Semiramis. Her notable abilities include a skill to make her neutral offensively and defensively to casters, and her NP's extra effects of buffing the party's defense and buff removal resistance for a few turns. But as far as AoE Buster Assassins go, Semiramis is a kinda hard sell at the moment, which is due to Koinskaya of Light being so close, who is not only a Buster meta support unit, but also an AoE Buster Assassin herself. So Koinskaya would be a better option overall. But if you just really like Semiramis, then not to worry, as you can try for her in February 2025 and 2026. Paired up with Semiramis is Amakusa Shirou, a limited SSR AoE Buster ruler, and since his release he's had all of his skills and MP upgraded. Now Amakusa can provide a bit of support with a targetable crit star gen and NP gen buff. He also has a few debuff abilities able to reduce all enemies' buster resistance, reduce one enemy's NP gauge, and even inflict a stun-like effect for a turn. Most notable, I think, is his NP's ability to first remove all buffs from the targets before firing off. But if you're in the market for an SSR AoE ruler, then perhaps you should wait for next year's summer event, which introduces Melusine's summer AoE Arts ruler version. There is also the Popes Johanna, who comes out in February. Fortunately, there will be other opportunities to roll for Amakusa if you're interested in eventually obtaining him. He'll have banners in March 2025 and 2026. Next up on the rotation, scheduled from the 28th to the 30th, is the limited SSR AoE Buster caster Nero Claudius. This summer version of Nero is a really good farming unit equipped with a 50% NP battery and a powerful NP, one of the strongest among AoE casters. And she has use for more than just farming, with an ability to make herself defensively neutral towards all classes for a few turns. Plus she has a targetable guts that's tied to a very significant 3-turn attack buff on the support side of things. Her NP also has an ignore invincibility that activates first. Overall, Caster Nero can perform well and would be a solid choice for those looking for an AoE caster. However, there are a couple of new SSR servants coming up next year that can be compelling alternatives to wait for. The alter egos Gregory Rasputin and Tiamat, plus the caster Esk. The ladies in particular have 50% batteries of their own, the latter of whom has a pretty interesting party-wide 50% charge mechanic. Furthermore, Summer Nero will have banners in May 2026 and April 2026 if you want to prioritize other servants first. Accompanying Summer Nero is her original story-locked SR AoE Arts Saber version. OG Nero has a couple of future skill rank ups to look forward to that will really help boost her overall performance. Even now, she's a solid unit that is perhaps most noteworthy when soloing or used in a last servant standing role. This is all thanks to her guts providing 3 revives over several turns, combined with a couple of HP recovery options. I know story-locked SRs can be really tempting for some, so the good news is OG Nero will have raid ups in May 2025 and possibly in June 2026. Partnered up with Caster Nero for this rotation is the permanent SSR caster Tamamo no Mae. For the longest time, Tamamo was the only SSR art support in the game, but now she's been completely overshadowed by the presence of Castoria and more recently Avalon. But Tamamo still brings something to the table, and that rests with her cooldown reduction effect from her NP, which can be really useful in drawn-out boss battles. Add in her healing abilities, both skill-based and NP-based, along with an NP gauge reduction for some stalling, and I think Tamamo covers off aspects that Castoria and Lady Avalon do not. And in the future, when the new append skills get added, there are some interesting use cases for Tamamo that come up that leverage cooldown reduction. Though, with that all said, if you're in the midst of building up support units, I would say save for Oberon or Koyo Sky of Light. Tamamo will always be available to summon every Valentine's event come February. Tamamo's SR partner is the permanent AoE Buster Saber Suzuka Gozen. She has a decently strong NP when her self-buffs to her Buster cards and NP damage are used. Suzuka can also boost her crit performance with good star gen and critical strength increases. She also has a skill-based ignore evasion and modest per turn NP gain that lasts for several turns. Suzuka does not have any scheduled raid-ups in the future for the moment, but I think one can wait for her to come by Spook if you don't have her. Taking over the rotation from November 30th to December 2nd is the limited SSR AoE Buster Saber, Arthur Pendragon of Fate Prototype lore. To differentiate himself from OG Saber, Arthur has a niche against enemies that are super large, gaining a skill-based buff that boosts his damage by a massive amount, but for just one turn. In the future, he will get an upgrade that extends his super large extra damage to 3 turns, along with the addition of a party-wide attack, and changes his NP battery from 20% to 30%, making him more compatible with the Double Coin Sky Oberon support system. In terms of general NP damage output, Artoria does have the advantage, but that's usually under final wave conditions. Waves 1 and 2, Arthur actually does slightly more NP damage at the moment, which will increase when that future upgrade comes. But my pick for an AoE SSR Saber would be the upcoming Muramasa if you were looking for one. And if you decide you want Arthur but will wait for the next time, he will have banners expected in March 2025 and 2026 and October 2026. The Space Shota Voyager is grouped with Arthur for this rotation. This limited SSR AoE Quick Foreigner has some decent support utility, with a targetable quick buff and crit star absorb increase, grouped with a party-wide crit damage boost. Voyager can also debuff one enemy's quick resistance, and he can charge the party's NP gauge by 20% with an extra 10% for living human allies by way of his NP's effect. His NP also has a damage modifier against targets with the Heaven attribute. Next year, around September, Voyager's NP gets a rank up, and with it, his general NP damage output will then rank among the top 3 among AoE foreigners. Oh, and can't forget to mention that he has a 50% NP battery. You all know how much I love those. Overall, I think Voyager is a pretty good AoE unit with a Heaven attribute niche and has quite a bit of support potential. But as we know, the new SSR AoE Buster Foreigner Kukulkan is coming in late January, so I'd say wait for her if you're looking for an AoE Foreigner. There will be other chances to roll for Voyager come September 2025 and April 2026. Cool Dinosaur Lady, Kijyo Koyo, is a limited single-target Buster SR Berserker that will be on rate up along with Voyager. Her notable abilities include a targetable one-stage NP overcharge buff, a party-wide heal plus instant kill immunity, and she can remove the most recent debuff from one ally. Offensively, she has steroids for her quick and buster cards, and through her NP and attack increase as well. Gameplay-wise, I don't think Koyo is a particular compelling ST Berserker to roll for, especially if you're trying to save SQ. So if you want to wait for her next banners, she will be on rate up alongside Emiya in January 2025, and then has another rate up in April 2026. The final rotation for this Fate 20th Anniversary Celebration banner, scheduled for December 2nd to the 4th, features the limited SSR AoE Buster Archer, Gilgamesh. Naturally, can't have a Fate Celebration campaign without the King of Heroes. And as befitting a servant of his caliber, Gilgamesh stands atop all AoE archers in terms of NP damage output, and he's especially effective against most other servants with his NP overcharge damage modifier against those weak to Enema Elish. Next month, it is expected he will get a skill rank up that will give him a moderate NP damage buff against those with the Heaven attribute for a few turns. And aside from his NP, Gilgamesh can be quite deadly with his regular hits thanks to their high hit counts, coupled with his crit star absorption skill to ensure a high chance of those hits being critical ones. Of course, he has a 30% NP battery, making Double Coin Sky and Oberon the perfect supports to leverage his abilities. In general, Gilgamesh can still be a force to be reckoned with despite having a relatively simplistic kit compared to most modern units. Though the same alternatives I mentioned for Ishtar apply to him as well. So if the timing is just too poor at the moment, then you can try for him in the not too far off January 2025, or the more reasonably timed March 2025, or the further off October 2026. Paired up with Gilgamesh and on rate up for this particular rotation is the permanent Ishtar Buster Berserker Heracles. Now, he just had a rate up recently, and we all know that he's a good unit to have. So if you don't yet have him, but need to save, then Heracles will have a banner in March 2025. Fellow legendary monarch, the King of Conquerors, Iskandar, will also be on the final banner rotation. This limited SSR AoE Buster Rider is the de facto leader among his rider peers for general NP damage output. He has some support utility with a party-wide attack buff, a party-wide NP damage buff, and a critical damage increase for all allies. In the future, Iskandar will get a skill upgrade that will allow him to provide the party with an ignored defense effect, plus gives him a 30% NP charge. So with this, it will be easier to use him with Double Coin, Skya, and Oberon, and perhaps even in some multi-core setups. For SSR alternatives you may want to consider instead of Iskandar, the new alter egos Rasputin and Tiamat come to mind. Naturally, alter ego's class modifier is less against casters than a full rider would be, but their flexibility against the cavalry classes as a whole makes up for it. If you're all about Broskandar but just can't roll right now, he will be on rate up again in November 2025. The last SSR to cover that's grouped with this rotation is the limited AoE Buster Moon Cancer, Summer BB. This always mischievous and sometimes malicious self-proclaimed Kohai has an interesting support use. Summer BB has the ability to lock the current set of command cards for 3 turns, along with supplying a decent amount of crit stars for that time. So for certain turn attempt setups, or even 90+ quests, this version of BB can be used to ensure the face cards you want. BB herself can use that face card lock to good effect with her own crit damage, star absorb buff, and on attack buff providing even more stars to use. She's also a solid AoE buster unit with having a 50% NP battery, plus a 3-turn attack, buster, and NP damage steroids. If you're looking for an AoE Moon Cancer, then Summer BB has quite a bit to offer. And looking at the Servant banners next year, there doesn't seem to be any direct alternatives, at least that I can see, especially since Summer BB's card lock ability is pretty unique. But the timing of this banner is likely to be bad, so if you want to eventually roll for Summer BB, she will have another banner in August 2026. But it should be noted that event will have an AoE well for Moon Cancer SR and the brand new SSR Moon Cancer BB Dubai, who uniquely has both an AoE and separate support type NP. The limited AoE buster SR Alter Ego Passionlip tags along with Summer BB's rate up. This member of the Sakura 5 has a decently powerful NP, but I find it's her tanky nature that tends to be notable. She has a couple defense buffs for herself, a taunt effect, a multi-hit damage cut, debuff immunity, and a party-wide heal based off of her NP's overcharge. For conventional farming, she has a 20% NP charge and buffs for her own attack and buster cards for a few turns each. She will have banners in January 2025 and September 2026 if you want to eventually add her to your Chaldea but are unable to roll this time. And that should cover all the servants on this, frankly, a surprise banner on NA. Hopefully, knowing when they will all be next available has helped to alleviate any temptations. And again, I hope you can please excuse the simpler format for this banner overview. At any rate, please let me know in the comments if you plan to roll for someone on this banner. And for those that do, then allow me to pass on some good luck vibes and wish all the success. If this was helpful or enjoyable in some way, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the like button. It really does help out the channel a ton. Thanks as always for watching, and until the next one, cheers all!